Hey guys, welcome. So Linux Mint 22.2, but this is beta. So Linux Mint 22.2 hasn't been officially released. Historically, when Linux Mint releases this kind of a beta, it doesn't change too much. There's not going to be, well, again, things moving in the future, you never know, but generally in the past, what I've observed is when the beta gets released, it looks fairly close to what the official release will be like. So I will only talk about one thing that I wouldn't say is a 100% positive experience, and that would be the fingerprint reader thingy. And I'll cover that at the end of the video because I actually do have one of the devices that is supposed to be compatible, and I'll show you how to actually check that list also as we get through this video. I am filming in 1080, but I'm in 4K. There are also slight differences in the Wayland desktop environment, and I'm filming in the X11. The subscription logo is in the corner. I have almost 600 videos on all kinds of things. So what I'm going to do is start with the welcome screen. The welcome screen contains a link for documentation for new features, and I'm going to walk you through some of it. And then I will walk you through some other settings. And even if you are brand new to Mint, we'll talk a little bit about your file manager. All right, so new features. So Linux Mint 22.2, again, officially not released. The code name is starting with Z, Zara. All right, first of all, they have sticky notes if you're into those. Got the rounded corner things, and then on Android Companion, they made mention of it also in here, is on this same screen. So your login screen, I will actually talk about this. In here, down at the bottom, when you actually sign in, Tom is just a made-up name. And this is an avatar, and I'll show you how you can actually put your own avatar in there. But let me just log in here for a second. The alignment is left. So the picture that you're currently seeing, because you have left, center, and right, but that's default, and that's been like that for a while, is not in the center of your screen. So generally the little login box appears over here. But now your avatar will appear with it if you have one. And then while we're discussing this, you see this picture here? If you click that, you can actually click on the experimental Wayland environment also and then sign in. Just wanted to make mention of that particular thing. Okay, so the alignment is left. You can change it to the center or the right. And all you got to do is go through this login window settings. Okay. If you're into the hypnotics, the internet TV channel thing, there's, here, I'll just open it briefly. And where did they stick it? It's a good thing we have search features. Anyways, supposedly there's 1,587 channels. All right, so they're arranged by country. I'm not into that, but anyways, there's some extra modes here if you're into that kind of stuff. This is the thing I will talk about last, and I actually have a fingerprint reader that's supposed to be compatible with this, and it will come up with this, but let me discuss that toward the end. All right, so compatibility with lib at Weta and support themes. All right, your GNOME calendar, let me just open the calendar here. Has this extra section in here, and I threw in a test event. So you can see that says test tomorrow. And then you can also view it in your calendar here if you click on the 12th. You can see a blue dot. Well, you may not, depending on what screen resolution you're in. But again, I'm filming in 1080. Now, you can always adjust your YouTube player also, of course. But anyways, moving along. Accent colors, again, can be also complemented by going through themes. This is your standard themes. Generally, there are three of them: Mint, L, X, and Y. You've got mixed, dark, and light. I've talked about these I don't know how many times. And then you got the advanced settings. This is also where you can change your mouse pointer. And I have videos on how to add your own mouse pointers. But more importantly, this Mint gives you a whole bunch of them. Quite a few Linux distributions only usually give you one or two. At least, anyways, moving along. I sometimes refer to that as nickname. I call it button sets, if you ever seen my videos. There is now 100 themes in here. I just wanted to point that out to you. You can sort them by different categories, and you just hit the download arrow if you want to change that. And if you need the scroll bars a little bit wider, slide this puppy on and then go from 10 to about 20. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to leave everything at default. While I'm in here, if you're in Wayland, this memory limit category is not there. Okay, it's in the X11, yes. So if you got buku amount of RAM, sometimes you may just want to think about turning that off. You know, and I think I got plenty on this system. Yeah, I got 32 gigs of RAM, so I'm not concerned at all about that. All right, X-App improvements. The web app manager, most people will miss this. The description field is editable. Let me show you what web apps is if you don't know what that tool is. You don't have to be a programmer. You can create your own web-based icons. That's what these guys are right here. All right, so I have, if you download this version of 22.2, you will get the Matrix one. That'll be installed already for you. I added the Mint and the distro watch. Now, if you do a fresh, you get an extra category now. It's called description. That wasn't there before. I show how on a lot of my videos, if you look for web apps, do a search criteria on my almost 600 videos there, you will find web apps there. And I have an icon that you can also create for your router, your home router. So that's really not a website, that's more, you know, your house. And that's about the only difference on this, because generally most people, that's all they do is make web-based icons to a website. And it's like a shortcut, if you want to call it that, or a glorified bookmark with an icon. Artwork improvements, right-click on the screen. So you got your standard Mint wallpapers, backgrounds, whatever name you want to give it. They gave the name wallpapers here, so now you have both of the names. Not a big deal, folks. They even tell you what sizes they are. That's a 3840 by 2160. So this is kind of a mix and match. I've done videos in the past, also personal ones, that I started to collect a lot of the old Linux Mint wallpapers, and I threw it into a folder and made my own. If you ever watched any of those videos. But Linux Mint did something similar here. They kind of threw things together that are kind of different mix and matches. And then, of course, if you have already put stuff in your pictures folder, then you can pick from your own personal images. And they're also by size in here. They're identified, which is kind of nice. So a lot of times this has a bearing on your screen resolution. You know, that's a nice thing to understand. And you have different aspects to handle that kind of stuff. That's what that's for. And you can also play your backgrounds as a slideshow, and it's just the particular folder you're in. So if you pick the wallpapers, it'll just either do random or sequential wallpaper changes based on a time frame that you plug in. All right, too much information for some. All right, so the software manager has another feature here where that little circle is. And I'm going to open that actually live. And I will go find something that has dual packages. I may have to just do a search. GIMP is a popular package. GIMP is something that I use on all my thumbnails. I also use it to create icons with. But GIMP is similar to Photoshop. It's a wonderful tool in my book. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, this is in a foreign language. Don't worry about that. It generally installs the correct language packs. This is the symbol I'm referring to. This will describe system versus Flatpak. So I don't need to anymore. Anyways. Moving along. So main components, the Linux kernel is a 6.14 series kernel. How to view your Linux kernels is actually going through your shield. If you see a dot on the shield, there's an update available. But if you walk over to view Linux kernels is here, and then continue, and it'll tell you what you're currently using by that line right there. You can also find that in a different way, actually many ways. But the 6.14 series kernel has already been updated since the release. So it's currently active, and it's -27. This number usually grows. Okay, even though you see it's supported until February of 2026, this is supported until 2029. Before this expires, I guarantee you'll see a new one. That's historic. All right, so you want to see that, and generally your shield looks like this, and it's a black and white icon, and basically that just means you're up to date. If you see a dot on this thing, then you can do your updates. You can always double check, and it turns into a half a shield to check for updates. Mine just flipped back over. That means there's nothing available. All right, so the LTS is long-term support 2029. Now let's go through a couple of the settings. I'm not going to go through the release notes. So you have your backgrounds, also the same by right-clicking on the screen, same deal, okay? And again, you choose whatever you want. The default wallpaper, I believe, is this one. I'm pretty sure it's that one. It could have been this one, but in either case, it's a black one. So all I'm doing is using one of these. And it's 5,000 by 7,000, so I don't get the whole thing because of the zoom factor. Could I have adjusted that? Absolutely. All right, I already went through themes. I'm not going to click that again. If you have to change your fonts, they're done in here. The size-wise, there are 10 for default. I think I made mention of this. If you're in Wayland, you don't see this part of it. And generally, this is off. So basically, when you go to shut down your system, that's what you have. If you want an auto timer, you just plug in the seconds right here. I have mine set for 20 seconds. This way, when I click that, it's counting down to 0. And then it'll shut down my machine in 15 seconds. I need to cancel that before it stops. But this is generally off. Okay. So if you got buku amount of RAM, maybe you got 64 gigs of RAM or whatever you feel like, you can also turn that off. All right. It really isn't a ton of changes in here that I can think off the top of my head. If you have a driverless printer on your network, they generally sets this automatically up for you. I didn't set that up, and that usually works fine on my system. So this is what I have. So this is Linux Mint 22.2. The Cinnamon version is 6.4.8 with a 6.14 series kernel. My processor is an AMD and also my graphics card. I'm not using an NVIDIA. The display server is X11, and again, you can log out and log into the Wayland environment, experimental, if you click the Cinnamon logo. I showed that in the very beginning of this video on how to do that. The firewall is disabled just like in the past. Your software sources are coming from your Mint, Zara, Mirror from Mint, and Noble from Ubuntu. Okay. Your avatar on your login screen can be changed here to one of these, or provide your own. Browse your own pictures if you like. I just picked, I think it was this one here, the mountain scene. This is what I see on the login screen also, as an FYI. Yeah, it doesn't appear over here. So for some of you folks that have never seen any of my videos, if you want to make this menu larger, this is generally set for 22, 22, and I don't remember, I'm going to say 32 on this number. I double these to make the icons larger because I'm in 4K mode, even though I'm filming in 1080, which makes this for bigger icons. This is how you do that. Okay. And all I did was add some text down here to remind you this is beta. Beta. My panel bar is a little larger than normal, so that's all done through here. It's generally, I think it's 40. I set it to 50. I also changed the left zone font size to 16 and the right zone. And also, if you have small icons for the symbolic, the white ones, you may want to crank that up based on the number of your height. I have mine at 47. My panel is set for 50. Okay. And then you can do the colored icon size, which this is a colored icon optimally. That's normally what I do. Couple of file manager tips for you. And then I'm going to talk about that fingerprint reader after this. Again, Tom is a made-up name. So down here is your normal resizer for the icons. And you can also do the view and click these. You can also hold down your control key and hit plus a couple of times, or you can do it my way. Hold down the control key and scroll if you have a computer mouse scroll wheel. I like to do this because I can do this on the fly. This really comes in handy in pictures. Okay, that's the biggest and that's the smallest. You can't even see legends under there. If you have your icons, let's say in this size, let go of the control key and it'll remain there. And you can also just click on an image and hit the space bar to get a preview and hit the space bar to close. You don't have to hit the X. I'll do painter hat guy. Space bar, space bar. Now what happens if I wanted it full screen? It's space bar, and as soon as you move to the bottom, you can do that and it'll go full screen. Space bar to close. Just a couple of little tips. This also works with PDFs. So I'm just going to click that once and hit the space bar. I didn't actually open the PDF, I'm doing a preview. There's no other icons except for the blue one, the blue X. But you can scroll in here. You can also hold down your control key and scroll. I've shown these tricks for many, many years. It should help you out if you're in a hurry. So whatever you're trying to do there. So if you need a zoom in picture of that really quick, hold down the control key, scroll forward, scroll backwards, whichever. I'm going to use Alt and F4 to close that because I don't have a laptop. My F4 key is not assigned to brightness or any silly thing like that. So anyways, not going to do all too much other than your network is here. I do have a machine that is running shares. And all I need to do is log into one of these as anonymous. So all of that stuff should be working right out of the box if the other machine is already set up. Okay, very simple stuff to do. Now, let me talk a little bit about the fingerprint reader, and then I will give you the link to if you want to download the beta. So the fingerprints, I'm actually going to throw the icon down here. This is what it looks like with a device that's not recognized or not detected. I'm also going to show this as a side thing. You're not going to see this on any of the other notes. I'm going to use terminal also to let you see what this device is called when I plug it in, because it is supposed to be compatible. However, I could not register all of my fingerprints on it. So in other words, I don't know if it's because this software is beta or if it's my reader or it's just not compatible. To be fair, you can see that now I must have something available because it's asking me to enable that. So what I'm going to do is open up Terminal. I can let you see how you can do this yourself. If you need to make the terminal box larger, hold down the Control key, Shift, and hit the plus key next to your backspace a couple of times. Then type in LS USB, all one word. You're going to list your USB devices. All right, the one I've got currently plugged in is this one right there. You can see what it's called, and I got the model number right there. So first I'm going to enable it, which requires my password, or Tom's in this case. Tom is a made-up name. You can see that it comes up with your digits to register them. Now I'm going to click the hamburger menu and do the About thing and the website. Why am I doing this? Because of the compatibility. Supported fingerprint readers are found here. This is a huge list. It's not just one or two. If you look at my terminal box, it says Elin Micro. All right, Elin Tech is really what this thing is called. And it's an Elin fingerprint. We can already see that right in the caption. So now I need to find this model number. This is a 04F3 and a 0C3D. So I have the 4Fs and 0C3, but not D. So I need to scroll down some more. So I found it in here earlier. There's 2s, there's 3. There it is. So that should match my number right here. So it's 04F3 and 0C3D. So that's what I have. And that is technically supposed to be compatible. Well, we can find it for sure. It's sitting on my screen. But what I'm going to try to do is register, let's do the left index finger. So add to fingerprint. It's going to require your password. Place the finger. And that's about as far as I got. I could not get it to scan the second time. There are no other things in here. So I could not register mine. I do not know how many it needs. I tried moving my finger around. I tried taking it on and off. It says do it again. That's all I have for instructions. And again, when you go onto the website, the only thing that you'll have here is this information. Okay, so maybe that can be improved on a little bit of what we're doing here. So I'm going to hit cancel. And you can also disable it. So again, I didn't have very good success. I have a laptop that I plugged the same reader into that I also threw LMX22.2 Beta, and I had the same results. So I don't think it's the hardware. It's either the reader itself, my reader, it might be bad. I really don't know. Or it could be because this is still in beta format. All right, in either case, what I'm going to do is click on DistroWatch. You can find the DistroWatch link if you're one of my subscribers. What I'm going to have you do, if you want a copy of this beta, you're not going to find it on Mint's website if you just try to start looking for it in here. All right, there's nothing in here that says 22.2 beta. All right, in here on DistroWatch, there is in the latest distributions, this is current because I just logged in there with my web-based icon. Do you see this 810 entry? It says Mint and it says 22.2 beta. Click that and allow that to download. Then burn that onto a USB stick or DVD and then have fun if you want to test drive. Thank you for watching.